Hi students, it's Mr. Arreaga. I wanted to talk to you today about a few things, talking about the last speech assignment and also some things that I've been noticing a trend with some of your assignments. So I wanted to kind of go over and to kind of get you some more, elaborate on a few things. The first thing I want to talk to you about is on your speeches, I always write my comments, and a lot of them, are pretty lengthy. And I really hope that you go back and read those because I try to identify things that, things that you can improve on for the next assignment, and those types of things. So I really hope that you're able to gone back and looked at them. You can see them in the grade section. So just make sure you go look at that because that's why it takes me a lot of times, a long time for me to grade your speeches, because I do go back and watch everything and then respond accordingly. So that's the first thing I want to talk to you about. The next thing is talking about the actual persuasive speech assignment. As I've said before, this is what I feel is the most important assignment that you'll do in this class, because persuading somebody to change their mind about something is something you're going to do not only in your business world, but also in your personal life, even though you may not think about it. But changing the mind of other people is difficult, and it's something you have to have a very strong argument. You have to, and to be able to establish a strong argument, you have to give facts and figures. And most of you are doing that. However, you need to say where they came from, who, according to whom, those types of things. That's, your audience is, I've said this, quite a few of you, your audience can't see your works cited page. So they have no idea where you got that information. And to build a strong argument, you need those facts and figures need to come from somewhere. Because if not, then where are they coming from, and are you just making them up? That kind of thing. So you have to be able to say where you came from. And with quoting using your citations, you don't want to quote large chunks of information, but if you have a number or a percentage or something like that, you've got to say where it comes from. Otherwise, it's just fluff. So you've got to say, things like, according to Sports Illustrated, 53% of athletes indicate that, or according to Dr. So-and-so, states that. You have to, whatever point you're trying to make, you need to find some other resource, a credible resource, someone who's who's a professional in that field, someone who's written or published something regarding that, not someone's blog, not someone's rants on Facebook or things like that. Even if you are an expert on your field, you have to cite other people. You can't just say, well, I'm the expert here, so you have to believe me. Well, why should your audience believe you? And if not being able to develop a strong argument, then you've really got an informative speech, which is not what we're doing on this assignment. Now, partially we are. Your persuasive speech, you've got to give the background information as to what you're talking about, and then you go one step further by changing the mind of your audience. There's got to be that call to action in your conclusion. So I'm gonna read parts of the assignment. I put it on on Blackboard. It's 2 pages long. I've been adding to it over the years. I've been teaching, rewriting things. You've got to follow the instructions. All the speeches have required the same documents: the video, PowerPoint, outline, works cited page, and the actual speech in paragraph form. Now, the first thing you need to be doing is you need to start with your outline. Your outline lays out exactly what you're going to talk about, how you're going to talk about it. That should be the first thing you do. It organizes your thoughts, and that's the way you need to cover what you need to cover. And I can tell a lot of you, I think it's the last thing that some of you do, because it doesn't contain everything that you talked about. It doesn't. It's only a couple lines. Use the example I provided in chapter 12. That's what I want you to do. That should be the first thing that you do, is your outline before you start researching Well, in addition with your research, those are the, you need to list what site sources you're using. You need to say where you're going to put them, that kind of thing. I don't want to see, just a couple bullet points with not much information. That's the most important part. Because if you don't have your speech organized, if you don't rehearse it, those things are going to really play an effect on if you're going to be able to change the audience's mind, in this case, me, okay? So I'm going to read a little bit about the persuasive speech. I'm not going to read it all because it's all online. But the purpose of the speech, like I said, you're going to use the art of persuasion in a lot of different aspects of your life, okay? The purpose of the speech is to persuade a hostile audience to accept your perspective or side on a topic of controversy. A topic of controversy, that means a topic that some people are, equally divided. You can take anything in politics right now with the president. Some people either love him or just hate him, to the both extremes. So you need to look. There's a definition of controversy. Now it's not just something that you only feel passionate about, but is it something that anyone else is going to care about? Okay, that's what you need to think about. If it doesn't affect anybody else, I've had one speech, I guess this was a couple years ago, student wanted to, was arguing a shorter school day, I think is what it was, but that doesn't affect me. I don't have any children. Most people don't think about that kind of thing. It's got to be something that is something that people are really pissed off about, for lack of a better term, okay? All right. So there are several components of the above definition that you should take special note of. The first is persuade. For this speech, your goal is to change the mind of your audience. In this case, your audience is hostile. They are an opposition of your topic. They disagree with your perspective and thesis. Please note, I know it's highly unlikely that our classroom audience or me will actually disagree with you on this position. Also, if I personally disagree with your topic, that's not going to influence how I grade. I look for certain things, but even if I disagree with you on it, I'll tell you that I disagree on it, but that doesn't affect your grade at all. That's not what we're trying to do here. Please note that, let's see. You should, however, design your speech as if this were the case. The final component is the issue of controversy. Your speech should be on your topic from one of the disputed perspectives that are listed in the chapter that we've read. Since your audience disagrees with you, there must be, of necessity, be an opposing side to your viewpoint. You cannot present a neutral perspective. Remember, that's an informative speech. There's a few of you that what you turned in for your informative was a persuasive speech. And so you need to make sure that you've clearly stated your side, your thesis, in the introduction. Let's see. You cannot establish yourself as an expert on your topic and have a strong argument. To do this, you have to cite source, facts, percentages, etc., both in your paper and your verbal speech. You'll need to use citations sparingly. Don't quote large blocks of information. It's stuff we've already talked about. You have to back up your information. If you can't find a credible source related to your topic, then you need to choose another topic, okay? Also, one thing I want to talk to you about is the introductions and conclusions. Your introduction, it can't just be, in fact, it should not be, I know what you're presenting, so I don't need to hear you say that this is your persuasive speech. I don't need to hear what class you're in, that kind of thing. You can say, my name is, but your introduction, you need to capture your audience's attention. Just like in the critiques, there was one about the drinking and driving, if I remember correctly. But you need to start your speech off with a percentage, a question, something like that. I don't want to hear, today I'm going to talk to you about, you need it. If you do this properly, I'm going to know what you're going to talk about. So you don't need to say those things. Your introduction needs to get your audience's attention, and then you need to outline what exactly you're going to talk about. The background information about this topic, I'm going to just, XYZ. You need to say what you're going to do. Otherwise, why is your audience going to listen to you? The same thing needs to be said about the conclusion. Your conclusion, you need to remind everybody what you just spoke about, and then you need to end it with a call to action. What is a call to action? Well, that's kind of where you're changing your audience's mind. That needs to be, think about what we've, call your congressman, call your senator, this issue is important to me, as I've described, that kind of thing. You need to end your conclusion. It can't just be, well, I hope you enjoyed my video. or that's all, or some students just click the stop button on their computer. You know, you need to be able to end your speech, because if you don't, you haven't met the objectives of the assignment, and you clearly haven't changed the mind of your audience. Okay. Requirements, same as all the others, should be 6 to 8 minutes long. I would encourage you to go more on the 8-minute side, but don't go over very much over that. You know, think about if you're ever speaking, you know, in a place where you have a specific time requirement. If you go way over, you know, you're not only are you, um, you know, let's say someone's supposed to speak behind you. You have a specific time allotment. If you go over that, that's just as bad as not meeting the requirement. So you need to think about in those respects. So rehearsing your speech is a good way to. My printer's making weird noises. You know, you need to rehearse your speech at least once, because one, you'll either go really fast. You've probably already figured this out. You go faster than what you thought you would, or you don't remember what you're going to say or how you're going to say it. So you need to rehearse that and get it into a specific time frame. Going over your time allotments just as bad as not meeting it. Okay. You need to have your paper in MLA format. So when I say 5 pages, that means 5 full pages. That doesn't mean 4 pages and change. It doesn't, you know, that kind of thing. Your works cited page can be included on your paper, but it's not part of the page count. So I don't even look at it as part of a page count. Or it could be a separate document. I don't really care how you do that. Works cited page, outline, PowerPoint. Like I said, you need to try to recreate this as if you're going to present this in a classroom. So, you know, some students will hook up their TV to their computer and have someone film them. You know, that's fine, however you do it, but it needs to include those things. Some students will sit, you know, with their laptop sitting next to them on a desk, and that's fine. You know, I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do it, but, you know, I need to be able to hear you, see you clearly, and you need to be able to meet those requirements. Let's see what else. Let's see. Talked about that. So some of the ideas, oh yeah, the link to the YouTube video. Make sure you don't make it a private video. Make sure you don't remove it until I grade your assignment. If I come to grade your video and it's not there, I'm gonna pretend like you didn't do it, because it'll tell me when I click on it, it'll say removed by you, or removed by I forget the exact terminology, but it basically indicates that you've removed it from YouTube. So as soon as you see the grade, you know, you can delete it. That's fine. That means I've watched it. I'm not going to tell you what topic to pursue on this. I'm going to say there's one topic I don't want to see, and that is anything pertaining to abortion. For the 4 years and change that I've been teaching this class, I can't see any more, see any more pictures of aborted fetuses and things like that. It's just a personal thing. I just can't see it anymore. But I've given you some ideas listed here. Think of something that's going on in the world right now. There's a lot of things that are they're really, dividing our country, the world, on a lot of different things. A lot of things about, gun laws, restricting or defending the Constitution, the Second Amendment to the Constitution, that kind of thing. Anything having to do with transgendered individuals. White privilege has been something that's been thrown around a lot. Gay marriage, gay rights, gay adoption. Those types of things. So think about it in those terms. So let's see, what else do I need to talk about? The rest of the semester, this is the last speech that we're going to do. We're already in week 14 of 16, so there's not a lot of time left. We will have this speech, the second part of the speech critique that you did in the beginning of the semester, and then the final exam. The final exam, as you may remember, it's not cumulative, so it's just going to be over. I think it's just chapters 14 and 15, and that's it. So that's really all we have left. So if your grade isn't where you want it to be, you need to make sure that you're following the instructions. If you don't know something, you need to ask me, because the worst thing you can do, and I've mentioned this many times, the worst thing you can do is guess and then guess wrong. I don't mind, and you emailing me through Blackboard. I've always responded to your emails. I'm happy to help. So I don't want you to get the wrong impression of that. But I'm not going to do the work for you either. So I will, when it comes to topics, I'm going to, I never say yes or no, that you can't do a certain one, other than the exception that I just talked about. But I'll ask you questions on, about it, and kind of try to point you in the right direction. But I'm not going to just flat out say yes or no to something, because I want you to think about it. I mean, that's all the, what the college experience is, to learn how to think critically and that type of thing. So I'm happy to help, but I'll point you in the right direction, but I'm not going to show you how to do it or give you the answer, because that's not really what college is about. So I'm trying to think what else, but yeah, there's really not much left in this semester. You know, you've got to have that same momentum that you did at the beginning of the semester. Make sure that you read all the emails or announcements that I post, because they have a lot of information. One more thing, and I mentioned this in one of those announcements: plagiarism. I do run everything through our software that checks for plagiarism. I can see exactly where that information came from. And if you remember my policy, I will remove a student who commits plagiarism. You'll get a 0 in this class, so an F, and and it'll go on your transcript. So please don't do this at the end. I'd hate to have this happen at the very end of the semester. Even if you have had a good semester and you blatantly commit plagiarism. Citing a source incorrectly is different than just blatantly passing something off as your own. So as long as you make some effort to indicate that that's not your original work, as long as you try to cite it, I don't care if it's 100% correct. That's really not the point of the class, but I want to see where it came from and that you're acknowledging that it came from, not just copying and pasting something from an article, because that has happened. So just remember that and be thinking about that. You don't want to throw your whole semester away based on one assignment. So I take everything on a case-by-case basis, but the majority of the time it results in a student being removed from the class. That's already happened a couple times this semester already. So I take it very seriously, because it is considered theft, and it is wrong, and it's something at university you're going to deal with, and it's nothing new. Any instructor has thinks of it the same way. So. Other than that, that's really all I wanted to talk to you about. Please feel free to ask questions on the Blackboard email. I'm happy to respond. Let's finish this semester strong, and hopefully you've learned something from this course. Like I said before, I want you to take something more than just the actual speech, what's in the textbook, but there's things that you can learn and you can apply to, such as persuasive speech. That could be trying to find, ask your supervisor for more money. Well, in this, I made, work this amount of hours, I brought in this amount of money, that kind of thing. You're basically persuading your boss or supervisor to give you more money. And you need to think of it in those terms. So anyway, like I said, let me know if you have questions, but I just wanted to do this video. I meant to do a lot more this semester, but just have not been able to do that as much as I'd like. But I felt, after this last round of speeches, that I really think that, hearing it from me instead of reading it may be a little bit better way of approaching it. So, that's all. So, let's finish this semester strong. I'll talk to you later.